Hello, official Strongman. I'm Lou Richardson. Today I'm going to be going through sort of the 5 things that I learned from last year's experience at the 2020 World's Strongest Man. There might be young lads on here, up and comers who are hoping to get to World's Strongest Man, and maybe this will, be a good little takeaway of sort of what you can expect and how to maybe approach it so that you don't make the same mistakes that I did. Lesson 1: you'll be humbled a lot. You can go into an event thinking that you're the best in the world, and all of a sudden you don't do 1 rep, or you miss out 2 seconds and you go from being first to being 5th, or you go from being first to being 9th in some cases. The strength in depth, you're looking at the pinnacle of a sport, and every single man who is there to win, and that's probably the next lesson that I'll go into. But in terms of that, I think, you can't not prioritise everything, because 1 slip up could cost you a final place, or a podium place, or a winner's place. So I think the one thing that I've sort of learnt this year is that, last year to take forward to this year, is that everything has to be absolutely on point, and if you think you're good at something, you have to be better at it. If you think you're weak at something, you really have to be fucking better at it. You cannot afford to drop points in a World's Strongest Man final, and even the heat, you can't afford to. So, that's something that I'm carrying with me into this year. Lesson number 2, I was the young guy going in. I'm brushing shoulders with a lot of the people that I've looked up to before I even got into the sport, but now I'm competing against them. And you quickly learn who's there to take part and who's there to win. And especially when you get into the final, every man in the final is there to win, and they perform and carry themselves in that way as well. And when you actually think about it, from an odds perspective, there's only 10 of you there. There's 10 of you in the final. Say 2 of you get injured, well, then you've only got 7 people to beat, and you're the world's strongest man. So the odds are almost always in everyone's favour. It's a very fine line we ride in this sport. Like I said on the previous point, 1 second could make the difference. So, when you're thinking about slacking in training, or slacking in recovery, or food, or sleep, or anything, just know that 1 little mistake could be sort of your demise, really, at this top level, because there'll probably be someone who's not missing a beat. So, you've just got to be absolutely flawless and faultless, which, last year Alexei Novikov was, not a single fault. Lesson number 3 is probably a bit of a weird one. Expect to be put in the public eye a lot more, and expect other people's expectations of you to be sort of really pressed. World's Strongest Man's open to a lot of speculation because of the way it is broadcasted. So a lot of the time people don't actually realise what's going on, but they pretend like they do. And I think something that I've learned from last year is to completely stay off the internet, stay off YouTube, stay away from watching fucking idiots who don't know what's going on, and just focus on the job at hand, and focus on, cracking on. Because if negative thoughts consume you and you're there trying to be positive and try to do your best, you're not going to be able to overcome that. So, that's something that I'm definitely going to take in with me this year, is that, I deserve to be there. Regardless of what everyone says, I'm here to do my best, and, I'm here to perform for me, not for you. Lesson number 4 would be expect the unexpected. Expect to be pulled from pillar to post. If you don't anticipate these things, as I didn't, it can be very stressful. You're used to an environment of training where you go to the gym, especially if you're like me, pre-Worlds. I'm a pro athlete now. Fortunately, I've been able to change my life that way. So I can structure my whole day to suit me, and you can't do that at World's Strongest Man. You've got to get up at a certain time, you have to eat at a certain time, you've got to be at a certain place for an interview, a certain place for another interview, a certain place for a meeting about an event. An event might get changed, because of something that's out of the organiser's control, maybe a bit of kit malfunctions, maybe the cameras stop working, I don't know, maybe a unicorn falls out of the fucking sky or something, I don't know. But, you've just got to be completely prepared for anything, and don't let it get the best of you. I think it was evident this year that quite a lot of people were getting really wound up at the situation, but getting wound up at something doesn't change the outcome. All it does is put you in a sort of worse place to be at your best. So I think next year I'm just going to go in it completely relaxed, expect the unexpected. If something does change, just go, right, whatever, I've prepared the best I can prepare regardless of what happens. I'm ready to do what I came here to do. So lesson number 5, World's Strongest Man is a very long comp, and more often than not, you know, it happens one day after the other. So I think a really big thing, especially for someone who, you know, is a pro athlete, we're all sort of perfectionists in our own little way. We always like things to go our way. If something doesn't go your way, don't dwell on it, because, you know, you'll carry that negativity into the next event, and, you know, every day is a new day, and every event is a new event. You know, there's points to be scored, there's events to be won, there's titles to win. So if you get yourself in such a bad place because of one little blip, it could turn into 2, it could turn into 4, it could turn into, you know, all 11 events. So I think a short memory is very sort of important at World's Strongest Man, you know, and just sort of taking something for what it's worth, good or bad, and then just, you know, try to do better in the, you know, the days following or the events following that. So that was sort of the 5 lessons that I learned really this year for me, myself at World's Strongest Man, and I think that I've probably got quite a good view and perspective on it because it was my first year, you know. I'll probably have 5 new lessons after this year, but, you know, everyone has their first year at some point, so if it helps you, you know, and it helps you in, for sort of expecting what's coming up at World's Strongest Man, or it helps you sort of want to be at World's Strongest Man, competing with all those guys, then, you know, fair enough. So keep liking, keep commenting, and keep subscribing, keep paying your membership, and I'll see you in the next one.